Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patricia, and Peter. 1965, Part 144. This is based on the letters from the original publication, Small Shaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC number 63, published on April 24th, 2001. Letter from the editor of the SFMC, yours truly, Peter J. Ray. A few highlights from this issue. John is quite enthused about Mark's pitching for his Little League baseball game. Last night he pitched a very good game. Mark won the spelling contest for all Kensington Elementary School again. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, May 26, 1965. Dearest Mother and Dad, what a cute gift for Peter, and he looks so dashing in it. The Canadian Mounted Police uniform arrived the day before his birthday and fits just fine. Everyone wondered how you could do it. On his birthday, I was installed as vice president of the Parent Teachers Association and took Peter to school. He wore his Mountie uniform. He wears John's Boy Scout hat and his cowboy boots. He also wore it to school for the bicycle rodeo and rode his bike. So thank you for it. It's so cute. Our dogwood have been so lovely and wish you'd be here and enjoying them again. Spring is such a few short weeks. We've been so busy. I had 4 luncheons last week to attend, and Monday morning I had PTA council. Yesterday I had a meeting here in the morning to plan our principal's retirement tea that I'm chairman for. And in the afternoon had bridge here. Today was a meeting for Patty's Brownies, and tomorrow night one for Mark's junior high, and Friday night John's folks and Mrs. Vogler are going with us to hear Mark and Pamela play in the All Schools Orchestra. John's folks were over last Sunday for supper and thought Mark and Pamela play so well together. You'd enjoy hearing them. Next week, June 2nd, is my installation as president of the Nature and Science Center Women's Board at the Westwood Country Club. I hope things will quiet down then for the summer. I must write to Chris. I think they'd like to visit us on their way to Florida or back, and also to send the check for Elsie's gift. Have you thought of attending the celebration? Would certainly like you to visit us. I'll enclose some of our pictures. I'd like the school one back, the large ones of the children and their class pictures for their records, as they're all we have, but thought you'd like to see them. You might like to send a few of them back too after you've seen them. John is quite enthused about Mark's pitching for his Little League baseball game. Last night he pitched a very good game. His violin teacher has been touring Russia with the Cleveland Orchestra and sent him a card. I'd like this back about Ted, John's uncle. Remember, you were both out to his home and had dinner with him? He's also in the Who's Who book, Ted Zook. I will try to write soon again. I wish you'd visit us. Peter asked where my mother and father were. I asked if he remembered you in Florida. He did, and asked, where was her husband? Then he asked, can he cook? Daddy says all he can cook are pancakes. Good night. Love, Ruth. P.S. Did I tell you that Mark won the spelling contest for all Kensington Elementary School again this year? He won a pen in President John F. Kennedy's book. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio. May 31st, 1965. Dearest Mother and Dad, we just returned from a lovely Memorial Day picnic at the Barths' home on the lake. Some friends that were in the Bahamas with us. They have a lovely home with a bedroom wing all in glass overlooking Lake Erie. You can even see downtown Cleveland. I'm writing to Chris. She said that they may be dropping into Cleveland as she and Ken and Elsie are going to the Baptist Convention in Florida. She wishes that you two would come to Elsie's birthday celebration. In your last letter, you sounded depressed, and I'm wondering how your back is. How we wish you could have been here last week to see Mark pitch his Little League baseball game, and especially Friday evening for the children's orchestra concert. John's mother and dad and Mrs. Vogler came. Mark is first chair violin, and Pamela, to her delight, is first chair cello. John's mother said how good they are, and Mrs. Vogler, too, said what a lift it gave her. They really are good, and how we wish you could hear them. Pamela took these pictures over a year ago for you to see. I think Mark took the one of her. It's her own camera that her grandparents gave her for Christmas a year and a half ago. Mark's violin teacher sent him a card from Russia. I guess I mentioned that. I do hope you're feeling better, and do come to visit us when you can. I wish Dad would take his vacation with us. Fly down and we'll try to keep activities to a minimum. Did I tell you Peter has adopted the name George? I don't know where he got it, but when anyone asks his name, he answers, Peter John George Ray. He's really such an original child. Pamela was saying how much trouble children are, and she said, Peter is the one that makes the most messes, and he's the funnest one, too. True. Good night. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio. Undated. Hi. Char, Audrey, and I went to the Van Gogh art show at the Cleveland Museum of Art last month, and I got this postcard to send you. We certainly enjoyed it. It was thrilling to see some of his painting that hadn't been reproduced. We also went out and had pizza and a bottle of wine for lunch at the place we took you and Dad 10 years ago. Since been beautifully remodeled. Also went to an auction that day. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, June 6, 1965. Dear Mother, the tea honoring Mrs. Jones is over, and it was a success, and I'm so glad. It was really very lovely, and she seemed to appreciate it. Everyone was so cooperative. We had a story on the front page of the local newspaper with a picture of her. We had at least 200 people there, and it was a lovely but warm day. The tables were pretty with lilac and white, our theme, school colors. The superintendent and his wife came. We gave Miss Jones a white orchid corsage and silver tea service. We had wee cherry tarts and chocolate nut balls and coconut balls and lemon puffs, assorted goodies and nuts. A wonderful punch of 7-Up over lime sherbet. You must try it. The floral centerpiece was white with purple iris, and we had lots of bouquets and peonies. We even ordered lilac and white mints and had purple iris on the napkins. Our president of the PTA called as I was ready to leave. She was sick, sounded terrible with a bad throat. I'm vice president. I was installed as president of the Women's Board at a lovely luncheon at Westwood Country Club last Wednesday. Mark's graduation luncheon is Tuesday from Kensington Elementary School. I made the name ribbons for their graduation caps, and his program is Thursday night. I'm skipping the JC Auxiliary Dinner Wednesday and the Sunday School Teachers Dinner tomorrow, and the JC Inaugural Ball Friday. We may go out to illumination at Oberlin Saturday. Patty's ballet recital is the 20th, and one of John's secretaries' wedding is the 19th. We'll go briefly to the reception. You haven't mentioned how you feel. How are you? You've had Doris and children over for meals. How is your back? Forgive me for not writing. I must say good night. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, June 29, 1965. Dearest Mother, Bud's visit has come and gone, and I imagine they're off on their camping trip by now. Your last letter said that Bud didn't like too much activity, but Pamela's birthday weekend usually has many things going on. He didn't arrive until 2 o'clock. John and the 2 children, Pamela and Peter, met him. I was with Patty at her ballet rehearsal. We had the first of Pamela's 3 birthday cakes. She postponed her party because of his visit. John and I had to attend a wedding reception at the Westlake while Bud played croquet on the front lawn with the children. Mark was away at Boy Scout camp and left Friday. We were all to attend the bonfire at the camp Saturday night, but Bud preferred to stay here. John had driven him by to see anyway. After the wedding reception, we went to Mary and Ed's, our neighbors who moved to Scarsdale, New York tomorrow. Bud went with us, and the Garretts were also there. Mary had a nice dinner party. Sunday, Mark came home and John's folks came over. We all went to Patty's ballet recital. The folks came here later, and we had Pamela's second cake and then took Bud to the airport. Mark pitched in his Little League baseball game both Saturday and tonight. He's a fine pitcher. I hope John's dad can get over to see him pitch. We went to Music Carnival last night. It really poured. Pamela had a pajama party for her birthday. The girls all slept on the third floor. Mark and Pamela were teachers Sunday in the church school. We bought Mary's baby grand piano and had it moved in and tuned, and it looks lovely here by the front window. I'm thrilled with it. She also gave me many lovely pieces of her pottery. We all went swimming Sunday, and I went to this Georgie show with Shar. The children are going to orchestra, and we're going to start Patty on piano now. Pamela goes out to the nature show. I do lots of chauffeuring. We had our big tree taken down out front. Got our water sprinklers going in the back and sides also now. Our roses have been lovely. Hope you can come visit us. Pam will write. The parcel's arrived. Good night. Love, Ruth. Myers Stevenson Ray, 2021 The Superior Building, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114. May 12, 1965. Out of order. Sorry. Dear folks, thank you so much for the birthday gifts for Peter and me. Peter certainly looks great in his little Canadian Mounted Police uniform. He wore it all day yesterday, even when we went out to dinner. The dogwood tree is in full bloom now, and the neighborhood looks very beautiful. As usual, May is an extremely busy month. Red was just installed as the vice president of the Kensington PTA and will shortly be installed as the president of the Nature and Science Center Women's Group. I'm sorry you could not join us in the Bahamas. It was a wonderful, wonderful rest. Mrs. Smallshaw, we all hope you are feeling better. Love, John. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio. Undated. Dearest Mother and Dad. Here's Patty's report card. Math S, satisfactory, same as an A. They only have S and N. Reading S, reads independently. Written expression S, handwriting, measures up to grade, plus. Practices correct handwriting habits. Oral expression S, listening skills S, art S, music S, physical education, accepts and fulfills responsibilities, gets down to work promptly, uses free time in worthwhile ways, and does work neatly, and is able to work independently. Pam's report card. Math B, reading B, language B, writing B, spelling B, social science A, science B, art satisfactory, music outstanding, instrumental music outstanding, French, physical education satisfactory. Mark's report card. Math A, reading A, language B, writing B, spelling A, social science A, science B, art satisfactory, music satisfactory, instrumental music outstanding, French outstanding, and physical education outstanding. Thursday evening, our friend from Hawaii called at 6:30 to invite us out to dinner. We had him come out and have dinner with us. My neighbor Mary sent over some dessert, and she had it in her freezer. I'd been going to a PTA meeting with her. We played bridge at Ann's in the afternoon. From Hawaii, he found it very cold here. It was only about 8 degrees. Peter had played with Stevie out in the morning, out at Ann's in the deep snow, and then we went skating at the park with Patty. Yesterday it was 50 degrees, and Peter was riding his bicycle, also 50 degrees today. Our friend from Hawaii is on his way to Harvard to go to graduate school and thinks our family is wonderful, and this is the best place to raise a family. Too spoiled in California and Hawaii. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio. 11:30 a.m., Saturday, July 10th, 1965. Dear Mother and Dad, I'm sitting under the hairdryer at the hairdresser, and we're planning to leave in about an hour to drive up to Chris and Ken's birthday party for Aunt Elsie. It's been a last-minute decision made about an hour ago. We hadn't planned anything for this weekend and held it open so that we could go, but poor Pamela has had a bad cough, and the other night Peter started in to croup. We expected they picked it up at Sunday school. They recruited Mark and Pamela to be teachers to the little ones, and they said there were lots of coughs. Pamela received a cross and pearl pendant from her Sunday school teacher for learning the most in her class, the 10 Commandments and Beatitudes, and much more, and Mark a Bible. However, we didn't know whether we should make the trip or not. It was cute. Peter and Patty thought we were going to fly up to see you and Uncle Bud's family. That's Canada and cousins to them. We do wish that you'd be there. We plan to drive up near the Niagara Falls this afternoon, find a motel, and visit Dundas Sunday afternoon for a short while, and drive all the way back since John has a busy Monday and we both have meetings Monday night. John has an inner-city luncheon helping with a colored problem, golf and poker, and I have a nature center board meeting. Our women's board meeting is Wednesday noon at Nan Gregory's by Rocky River Park. I still wish Dad would consent to fly down and visit us in August, or maybe we could meet in Michigan. Unfortunately, Aunt Helen Lacey has sold her home there on Glen Lake just this winter. We had hoped to get back up there now that the children are old enough to enjoy it. Mark goes to Boy Scout camp August 15th, but we might try to get some family camping up in Michigan first. I'm wondering how Bud's family trip turned out. I saw where it was rainy and cold in the Dakotas. Hope it missed them, but Bud likes it cooler. I sent a couple of boxes of dresses to you for Janet and Joan. The little pink cat dress for Joan was new. I couldn't resist it when I bought Patty's. I should have given them to Doris last year, but we seemed too busy. It made me so depressed to give my little girls dresses away, and I hope I didn't delay so long that they're too small for Janet. It probably costs more to send than they're worth, but hope they can use some of the things. The strap for the pink skirt was in also. I guess I'm just too sentimental. Whenever I talk about taking down the crib, John says, "It's like the passing of an era." He's sentimental, too. Mark's been pitching some fine Little League baseball games, quite a contrast to his first violin and spelling champion laurels. He's very composed about it all. I hope the parcels coming to you aren't a problem, but I thought you liked to have things to take over. I delayed a couple months mailing them and still have more. Time marches on. Let me know if they're too much trouble. I wish we were seeing you. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio. August 4th, 1965. Dear Mother and Dad, how shocked I was to hear of Doris' sister's babies drowning. I just wept when I read your letter. We just couldn't get over it, and I know Doris' sister never will. What a sad thing. John, too, feels so badly. I remember so vividly how I felt when Peter was missing in Cypress Gardens, Florida. When I read the letter to Peter, he said, "She should have had her life preserver on." When we were in the Bahamas, we took life preservers for the whole family, and we had Peter wear his almost all the time. He's now taking swimming lessons. Patty is swimming beautifully. She even goes off the diving board. I waited to write immediately to Doris, but afraid she'd get my letter upon returning from their vacation before hearing about it. I'm sure she must feel so badly. When she was here, I could tell how much she thought of her sister and her family, home, cooking. Quite a perfectionist, I felt. Doris said how she sewed for her girls and they took ballet lessons. How very sad. This Vietnam War is so bad, too, to think of Mark and all these young fellows growing up to face this. That is why John has spent so much time on the United World Federalists. A stronger United Nations would certainly help, and if Red China had been in it, it might have helped also. You know, when we were at the co-op, there were Red Chinese students getting their PhDs in physics and engineering, taking the bomb back to China. I don't know what's happened to our summer. We've had a few hot days, but it's been mostly cool. I prefer the heat. Poor Pamela had her cough for a month. She may have had pneumonia and still coughs some. She's had 3 penicillin prescriptions. We go to Dundas for the party for Elsie. We did go to Dundas for the party for Elsie. We stayed at a motel at Niagara Falls Saturday night, and we were at Chris's from 2:30 in the afternoon until about 6:30, then almost a 7-hour drive back. Over 600 miles in 2 days and a lot of driving for John. Elsie seemed pleased at the party, and it was a lovely day for it. Good of Chris to arrange it all. Last weekend, Pat and Len and their 4 girls aged 10, 12, 14, and 16, and Uncle Lloyd came Friday afternoon and stayed until Sunday afternoon. John took them to an Indians-Yankees baseball game, and they saw Mark pitch a good game at his Little League baseball game. Pat's expecting her 5th child in October. Unfortunately, the coach took Mark out of the game in the last inning. They were winning 2-1, and Mark had 1 out. The next pitcher came in, and they got 8 runs off him, so the boys lost. They'd already won first place in the league, but couldn't go on to the World Series. Anyway, 13 of us were watching Mark pitch, and he did fine. Pat said, "Oh, your dad should see Mark pitch." So we had 13 people here last weekend. John and I had to go to a wedding reception at Westwood Country Club for one of my old pupils, Billy Burt, my big problem. Yesterday we were down at the Duffs for a picnic. They now have 9 children, 6 boys, 3 girls, and the last 2 girls are 15 months and 2 months. Anne still works 1 morning a week. We brought their older daughter, who is Patty's age, back with us for a few days. Later Friday, we went to Sandusky and had a lovely dinner at John's folks and went to Cedar Point. Like Disneyland, more things than last year. We plan to go tomorrow, but it's only going up to 70 degrees, and we want to go to the beach. All I did during July, it seemed, was drive. 9:45 drove Mark and Pamela to orchestra. 10:45 drove Patty to swimming. 11:45 drive Patty home from swimming. Pamela had to miss hers. 1:15 drive Peter to safety program and Mark and Pamela to the nature center when Pamela was well enough. 3:15 drive Peter home from safety. 4:15 drive Mark and Pamela home. 5 o'clock Mark to life-saving. 6 o'clock Peter to swimming. 7 o'clock Peter and Mark home. Mark had his violin lesson Wednesday at 4:30 and then many evenings his baseball. In between I had a few things to get done. Soon he'll go to a Boy Scout camp. A neighbor is having a coffee in the morning, and we'll see about Cedar Point. We may go camping in Michigan, but John is not too keen about it. We lost our big elm to the Dutch elm disease. The tree was valued at $2,500, but not deductible. Our other tree is going also. Dozens lost on our street alone. Have a good vacation. Love, Ruth. P.S. What a surprise I had when Pat arrived. She brought a gift from Elsie, one of her last suppers in Needlepoint. It takes her a year to make one, and Pat said someone offered Pat $600 for the one she has. I really don't feel that I deserve it. Len said if I said it again, he'd take it back, but I don't. I must write to her. I'll have to get it framed. I invited Elsie to Cleveland to visit, but she felt she had to go back with Joan. Lloyd said how good you were to him when he was in the hospital and how he enjoyed the little jars of jelly so much and how often you visited him. He really appreciated it. Pat and Len brought me some Blue Mountain pottery and a cup and saucer from Lloyd with the Ontario flower on it. Good night. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, August 16th, 1965. Dear Mother and Dad, I've been wondering how your vacation plans and vacation is. I do hope that you have a nice one. I thought of phoning you last night to see if you had any thoughts of coming down. We just decided to take the last week of August, the 22nd to the 29th, and go up to northern Michigan. Aunt Helen's place is up there, but she sold it last winter, but we phoned and rented a smaller one on Platte Lake. It's just a cabin for 6. I thought of phoning our neighbors who moved to Scarsdale to get the address of a larger one that they rented in Michigan last year, since I remembered you mentioned once that Dad had said maybe we'd meet up there some year. Mark is at Boy Scout camp this week, and so far it's been beautiful weather for it. All the summer programs wound up the end of July, so now I'm trying to get organized again. John's folks are on vacation now, too. They came over Friday night, and we took them to the Cleveland Orchestra summer concert with Mark and Pamela. It was a lovely night. Mark's teacher is in the Cleveland Symphony, just back from their European and Russian tour in June. Our address in Michigan will be in care of Mrs. William Sinsel, P.O. Box 98, Deadstream Road, Honor, Michigan. How nice that you took the children to the exhibition. They are lucky to have you take such an interest in them. We had our Rocky River Day at Rocky River Park, kiddies parade, races, band concert, prizes, and the most spectacular array of fireworks I've ever seen. Hope you have a fine vacation. Good night. Love, Ruth. Honor, Michigan, August 30th, 1965. Hi. We took our boat across Platte Lake and floated down this lovely river to Lake Michigan. The canoes also go down. The children enjoyed it too. This is certainly scenic countryside and so peaceful. Love, John and Ruth, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. Honor, Michigan, August 28th, 1965. Dear Mother and Dad, we were so surprised to find your letter here the other day when we returned from fishing. We are so glad that we came up and have had a lovely week. It really is such beautiful, quiet country. Out on the lake the other morning, it was misty, moisty, and John and I agreed it could just as easily have been a lake in New Zealand, Ireland, Scotland, or the Windermere area in England. The lake was smooth as glass and so quiet. One day we took the boat down the river to Lake Michigan, floated down. Yesterday we drove around Torch Lake and the Elks Lake where our neighbors go, and today, after climbing the sand dunes, we went to Helen's place on Glen Lake and tried to rent it for next summer, but the new owners don't think it will be available. According to National Geographic, Torch Lake is one of the 3 most beautiful lakes in the world. We think Little Glen is equally lovely. We are going home for a couple of days and then going to Lakeside for the last week before school starts. Peter will be in kindergarten and Mark in junior high school, so he won't be coming home for lunch. It's interesting, but this is the area we came to on our honeymoon. We drove down and took the boat across Lake Michigan to Frankfort and stopped to see Helen and her family. She regrets selling her Glen Lake dream spot. John's dad mostly golfed on his vacation at various spots. They came over for the Pops concerts. John's dad can't drive much because of his eyes, especially at night. John's aunt, Helen Zook, Mark's godmother, had a stroke and was over in Cleveland Hospital, recovered from the paralysis. John's dad had 2 blackouts in church in the early summer, but seems fine now. We'll have lots to do to get ready for Lakeside and school. Glad you got the trim painted. We had ours done last year, too. Pam's cough is over. Love, Ruth. Now we have a letter from Pamela to her Grandma Smallshaw, to Ruth's mother. July 1st, 1965. Dear Grandma Smallshaw, thank you ever so much for the cute little puppy. I just love it. We were quite worried that whatever was on the box would be broken because the box was ruined. The pup was fine, though. Thank you also for the beautiful jewelry set. This year I passed 5th grade with 4 A's and 3 B's. I also took French this year and got outstanding in it. This year I learned to play the cello. I was first chair cello in the elementary band orchestra concert we gave. I got outstanding in this also. Love, Pamela. Now we have two letters to the editor based on the original publication, and the first is from my father, John S. Ray. Dear Editor, your mother and I just returned from putting flowers on Pamela's spot. Her birthday is today. SFMC number 63 read and enjoyed. Peter adopted the name George at one point when he was 5 years old. Said his name was Peter John George Ray. I do not remember that. Busy time for Red. She was president of the J.C. Auxiliary and also president of the Nature Center Women's Board. You children were certainly a busy bunch with your long list of activities. Much driving for Red. I recall the pleasant summer interlude at the cottage on Platte Lake in Michigan. Thanks for another fine issue. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Cleveland, Ohio. And a second letter from Tessa Delina, the former secretary of Ressalist Educational Center in the Philippines. Dear Mr. Ray, greetings. I just finished issue number 63 and I really liked the cover photos. Platte River took my breath away, and the color of the background was just perfect. My hat's off to Ruth, who had one ultimate goal in life. That is to give the very best to her children, and this also goes to all mothers in the world and fathers as well. You and your brothers and sisters were given all the opportunities like ballet lessons, swimming, music lessons, and baseball. And one major factor that made your parents proud of all of you were your excellent academic standing in class. I also get an insight that we owe ourselves time to relax amidst the hectic schedules we have, just like what your family is doing. With this, we seem to have balance in our lives and we come back fully recharged and eager again to do our work. Thank you so much for sharing with me these issues. Tessa J. Delina, Quezon City, Philippines. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time.